Hey guys, Erik here, Florida High Performance. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. What if I told you that you could make 1,000 horsepower in a stock bottom end LT4? Would you believe me? Stick around and find out exactly how we did it. So the vehicle that we're featuring in this video is Pedro's 2018 CTS-V. For those of you not familiar with the CTS-V, this is Cadillac's performance sedan. They've been out for a pretty long time. This is the V3, the third version of the CTS-V. It is by far one of my favorite cars, not only to drive and to modify, but just to look at. Absolutely beautiful lines. Four-door sedan, you can take the whole family in it. It is really one of the ultimate grocery getters, in my opinion. The blue color on this thing is brilliant. It's beautiful. It really helps to accentuate the lines on this car. Pedro's got bits of carbon fiber on the front and the rear that kind of help tie it all in. He also went and blacked out the grille and some of the chrome trim that would normally come in this vehicle from the factory. So very tastefully done in the exterior. I would even consider calling this a sleeper. Stock wheels, stock brakes, other than some window tint, and again, these small aesthetic things that are done to this car. This is exactly how it would look from the factory. So on the outside, you would have no idea that it's packing what it's packing under the hood. Now, before I get into detail on the performance mods, Pedro contacted us a while back. He had actually already bought a number of the parts that we put on this car. He had the Magnuson supercharger, he had a torque converter from Circle D, and some other things, some other items that we'll talk about later in the video. And he basically said, I have these items, how much to install them? We worked out a deal, he dropped the car off, and we got to work. Along the way, some things were changed. We went with one of our head cam packages as well, so late model engines, LT4 heads, and our custom Camotion LT4 camshaft, as well as the other usual things that we're gonna use in that type of build, like Johnson lifters and Manton push rods and things like that. He actually supplied a standard rotofab. Obviously, with the goal in mind on this build, I knew that that was not going to be sufficient. So I called Pedro, I said, hey, we need to upgrade to the big Gulp. So we did. That is equipped with a Nick Williams 103mm throttle body, and then obviously this beautiful Magnuson supercharged 2650, which is a very, very popular blower we use in these cars, and they're just an excellent choice. I'm actually going to be running one of these superchargers on Bad Pumpkin ZL1, which you will see in a future episode on this channel. So one of the benefits that I have as the builder and the owner of Florida High Performance is to take a look at these cars and kind of imagine if I was the engineer at Cadillac, right? If I worked for General Motors and I was saying, hey, I have to develop a vehicle, how would I want it to look, right? How would I want the engine to look when you open the hood? How would I want to wow the owner when they, take this thing to a car show, whatever it is? Those are the things I think about. So obviously when I was given the opportunity to build this car for Pedro, I immediately go to that mindset of how do I want this thing to look if he takes it to a car show, if he goes to the race, if he goes to a meet and pops the hood? Is it going to have that wow factor? Is it going to immediately tell you Florida High Performance built this car? And it's exactly what this engine bay does. So I'm going to show you a few things we did in the engine to give it a little bit more color, give it a little more style, and that custom touch that Pedro was looking for and why he came to Florida High Performance. So let's get right into the business end of things. How did this stock bottom end LT4 make damn near 1,000 real world horsepower? I'm going to tell you. It was a combination of fuel. It was a combination of well thought out and balanced mechanical parts, a little bit of balls. So kind of the standard go-to items that you would see in any max effort heads cam build out of Florida High Performance. What makes this special, what makes this setup unique, and what we did to achieve the power we did really comes down to the port injection system. We went with TooHighPsi port plates, and we'll put a picture up of exactly what those look like, but basically in essence, they're CNC machined plates that sandwich between the supercharger and the cylinder head. They receive different types of injectors depending on the plate height and style that you buy and what blower you're running. In this particular case, we went with their LP plates, the low profile plate that's made for the 2650. So they sandwich between the blower and the head. They have provisions for 1000cc injectors. We decided to go with the Haltech 950 and the Brian Tooley Racing harness. You call Brian Tooley Racing, you tell them I'm putting port injection on a DI car. They're going to provide you with the harness for the Gen 5 LT vehicle that you're putting it in. They're going to provide you with the Haltech 950 ECU, which is super powerful and probably way more overkill than what we needed, but works great. Instructions, Cables, we went with their wideband setup as well. So this car does have dual widebands that's tied into the Haltech so we can monitor AFR. We get in there, we write the base map, basically when the fuel turns on, when it turns off. And that is how we were able to control the port injection and provide the amount of fuel that we need. Let's talk about what supplies the fuel that we need to our port and our direct injection systems that are on this car. We turn to our friends at ForeInnovations. Fore makes really nice drop-in, basically plug-and-play fuel pump modules that you can install in these cars that are going to give you the amount of fuel that you need to supply this type of system and type of power that we're going to make. We went with their dual pump system. Basically, it comes with a nice billet hat, dual fuel pumps, comes with the harness, comes with the relays, everything you're gonna need basically to make it work. We drop the fuel tank, we take the stock fuel pump module out, put the Fore module in, plumb our lines. It's an extensive install, but at its essence, it's really just a fuel system, right? A feed and return style fuel system. If you look at the engine bay, you're gonna see a couple things here. First of all, first thing you notice, 2 fuel pressure regulators. The first fuel pressure regulator we have, you see here on the driver's side of the engine, is for our direct injection. This is going to take the fuel coming in from our fuel tank from the Fore twin system. It's going to regulate the pressure and it's going to feed the direct injection, which is underneath the supercharger. We then tee off of this regulator and we feed our port injection rails, which are very hard to see, but they're there, right? And then out of the port injection rails into a second regulator. The second regulator is going to control our pressure at the port rail, right, which is going to vary. It's going to be a little different than our direct injection system. That has a fuel pressure sensor on it, which we can log in the Haltech. And ultimately, the fuel coming into both of these regulators eventually returns to the tank. In line on the return side is our flex fuel sensor from DSX. So in essence, we have our fuel coming in. It's being regulated to the DI. It then goes to the port. It's then being regulated again at the port. It returns to the tank. And in between all that, we have our flex fuel sensor, which is going to give us our accurate reading of the actual ethanol content in the fuel, which is super important. I could have also added a second sensor and given that input to the Haltech, but because he's running full-time E85, we skipped that step. We're able to monitor it with the factory ECU and the flex fuel kit from DSX, and we were able to achieve and do everything we needed to do with this fuel system on that setup alone. So we like to upgrade the heat exchanger and other things when possible. In Pedro's case, that was no exception. We went with the Weapon X upgraded heat exchanger. The kit also comes with 2 auxiliary coolers on either side. One is an auxiliary cooler for the heat exchanger system, and one is actually a second cooler for the engine cooling system, which works in conjunction with the radiator. We also have a large trunk tank in the rear of the vehicle that Weapon X provided. It increases the capacity of the cooling system by several gallons, I think 5 or 6 gallons at least. What's cool about that is if Pedro goes to the track and wants to do some aggressive driving or some racing, you can actually drain what's in the tank and we can fill it with ice and water and really help to keep those intake air temps down at a competition level. So another item I wanted to touch on real quick that is visible when you open the hood is this Cortez Performance breather tank. One of the issues that we have from time to time on these engines, on these LT engines, is excessive pressure in the crankcase. It really has nowhere to go. We've had oil past the front seal, we've had rear main seals give way, which obviously is not a good thing. On any build that's going to be 800-900 horsepower in that range, I typically will tell the customer, listen, let's get rid of the PCV system, right? Let's eliminate that and let's just go to a crankcase system. Let's just let the crankcase breathe to atmosphere. That's going to eliminate pretty much all of that pressure in the crankcase. It's going to keep things under control. It's going to save our seals, which is very important. So we went with one of their tanks. This thing is awesome. It comes with the fittings, it comes with the lines, it bolts into a nice place right here behind the radiator. It looks good, it works, and obviously we don't have any excessive blow-by or anything like that pushing past the seals. So just another nice item we added while we were building this car. It works really well. So guys, the moment we've all been waiting for. As I said in the beginning of the video, what if I told you that you could make 1,000 horsepower in an LT4 stock bottom end? Well, I've shown you how to do it. Let's talk about the numbers. Let's talk about the results. I'm going to tell you the rear wheel horsepower, the rear wheel torque, the timing, the boost, everything that we were able to achieve with the setup that I just showed you. Horsepower, car came in making right around 540 wheel, 550 wheel. It had an intake on it, that was it. So pretty standard baseline on what we would see in a car like this, automatic trans. After the modifications, the port injection, the direct injection, the E85, the extensive amount of work and tuning, we were able to make 980 wheel and 892 foot-pounds of torque. Yes, 980 wheel, 892 foot-pounds of torque. When it came to tuning the CTS-V, the goal was always right around 900 wheel. I thought that was reasonable with the mods done. We made 980. Erik at DD Tech, the tuner, and I decided, you know what, 980 is fine. We'll leave it there. Very, very happy with that number. That is a huge gain over the stock numbers that this car was making when it came in. And we'll put the graph up so you can see. You'll see a massive improvement in torque and horsepower. We're running right at 18, almost 19 pounds of boost. So the sweet spot on the 2650 on this cubic inch setup. It keeps the blower speed down. We're able to run a little bit more timing. We were anywhere between 22 and 24 degrees of timing. We did back that off a little bit just to keep things happy. And as you saw with the results, this car is just a beast. The power is insane. He's gonna have a hell of a time handling it. I can't wait to go to the track in this car and put a proper tire, maybe a 15-inch wheel and tire set up on the rear of this car and really hit it and see what it does. But I was very, very happy with the numbers. Again, we'll put the graph up so you can see it. And this thing has exceeded all of our expectations. It exceeded my expectations. It exceeded Derek at DD Tech's expectations. And Pedro, most importantly, the customer, I know it exceeded his expectations. For those of you watching this video who may own a CTS-V or another LT4 powered vehicle, such as a ZL1 or C7 Z06, you might be asking yourself, well, Erik, can I make 980 wheel reliably on my setup? The answer is yes. We did it. Pedro's gonna take this car out of here. He's gonna drive it every day. He's gonna drive it confidently. And the reason for that is the combination of parts. We didn't just slap random things together. We sat down, we put pen to paper when we thought about what our goal is, what's gonna be required, what we're gonna need to get there, and what are we gonna need to make this thing as bulletproof as possible. Now, 980 wheel on a stock bottom in LT4, is that something that I would recommend everybody goes out and does? Certainly not. Is it the limitation of this engine? Who can say? We've had LT4 engines make more than this, we've had to make less than this, they're all still running. I think it comes down to the combination of parts, which you've seen, which is a lot. It comes down to tuning, having a good tuner who understands these engines, the direct injection, the port injection side of things, knowing how much timing is too much timing, maybe how much boost is too much boost. Those are all important things. So if you're asking yourself, can I do this? You can. You have to get with a qualified shop who has the combination like this that is going to work day in and day out. E85 is awesome. It's obviously very stable fuel. It's not available everywhere. We could have also went with meth injection on this car, although Pedro did not want to, so that's always an option that we could have explored. Really what this vehicle is going to need from here on out, I would say, is just probably a larger engine at some point. Our limiting factor right now on this thing is the engine. It's doing really well right now, but it's still a 6.2 liter. This supercharger can move a hell of a lot more air than that engine can take. So by no means are we done with this car, but for right now, as it sits, man, it is awesome. We exceeded expectations. Pedro, I can't wait for you to drive this car. Guys, as always, if you have any questions, if you're wondering, hey, how do I do this on my car? Hey, Erik, what does this cost? Or what does it take? Or, if you really want to know the details of a build like this, reach out to me. You can comment below. You can call the shop. You can email me directly. I'm pretty much the only one that's going to answer the phone here. I'm happy to answer those types of questions for you. I hope you learned something in this video. There's a lot of stuff that went into this build. I've barely just scratched the surface, but thank you everybody involved. Derek at DD Tech Tuning, Pros Tuning helped us with the Haltech map as well, so I want to thank them very much. Everybody involved in the products that are on this car, awesome. Everything worked flawlessly, and I cannot wait to see this thing on the road and get Pedro's reaction. So thank you for checking the video out. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you.